The story of Moses is a captivating narrative of divine intervention, leadership, and the fulfillment of promises. One of the most poignant moments in his life is the account of his passing, leaving a lingering question. Did God kill Moses? This video explores Moses' disobedience to God's command and the bittersweet glimpse of the promised land that he experienced but never entered. Examining biblical passages and insights from scholars, we seek to unravel the complexities of this enigmatic episode. Moses' life is a tapestry woven with divine encounters, beginning with his miraculous rescue as a baby and culminating in his role as the leader of the Israelites during their exodus from Egypt. The unfolding drama of Moses' life is punctuated by extraordinary events, including the reception of the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai and the miraculous provision of manna in the wilderness. The apex of Moses' journey occurs on Mount Nebo, a significant vantage point overlooking the Promised Land. In the book of Deuteronomy, Moses ascends the mountain under divine instruction to view the land he had fervently led the Israelites towards. It is on this mountaintop that God shows Moses the land and declares, "This is the land I promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob when I said, I will give it to your descendants." Deuteronomy 34 verse 4, NIV. The turning point in the narrative comes with the account of Moses' death in Deuteronomy 34 verses 5 to 7, NIV, "And Moses the servant of the Lord died there in Moab, as the Lord had said. He buried him in Moab, in the valley opposite Beth Peor, but to this day no one knows where his grave is. Moses was 120 years old when he died, yet his eyes were not weak nor his strength gone." The question of whether God killed Moses emerges primarily from Moses' act of disobedience, a significant event that transpired during the Israelites' journey in the wilderness. In Numbers 27-13, the people thirsted for water, and God instructed Moses to speak to a rock to bring forth water for the congregation. However, in a moment of frustration, Moses struck the rock instead of speaking to it. This act of disobedience had profound consequences. The repercussions of Moses' disobedience are evident in God's response. In Numbers 20:12, NIV, God declares, "But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, because you did not trust in me enough to honor me as holy in the sight of the Israelites, you will not bring this community into the land I give them." Biblical scholars have offered various perspectives on Moses' disobedience and its implications for his ultimate entry into the Promised Land. Some argue that God's decision to bar Moses from entering the land was a just consequence for his failure to trust and honor God's instructions fully. In his commentary on Numbers, biblical scholar Gordon J. Wenham notes that Moses' failure to sanctify God before the people by striking the rock revealed a lack of faith. Wenham suggests that Moses' disobedience was a serious transgression, meriting the consequence of being denied entry into the Promised Land. The act of striking the rock, instead of speaking to it as God had instructed, holds symbolic significance. The Apostle Paul, in 1 Corinthians 10 verse 4, refers to the rock in the wilderness as a spiritual symbol, and all drank the same spiritual drink. For they drank from the spiritual rock that followed them, and the rock was Christ. Striking the rock, rather than speaking to it, is seen by some scholars as a deviation from God's intended symbolism and a failure to honor Christ in the act. Moses' exclusion from the Promised Land raises theological questions about divine justice and mercy. Some scholars argue that while Moses faced the consequence of his disobedience, he remained in God's favor. Deuteronomy 34 verse 10, NIV, describes Moses as the most humble man on the face of the earth. This humility, coupled with the unique relationship Moses shared with God, adds complexity to the understanding of divine justice in this context. Moses' death on Mount Nebo, overlooking the Promised Land, paints a poignant picture of unfulfilled longing. He had led the people through the wilderness, faced numerous challenges, and faithfully conveyed God's guidance. Yet, the culmination of entering the Promised Land eluded him. The symbolism here is powerful. Moses, the lawgiver of the Old Covenant, stands as a representation of the limitations of the law to bring people into the ultimate fulfillment of God's promises. His inability to enter the Promised Land contrasts with Joshua, who leads the Israelites into the land of milk and honey, symbolizing the role of Jesus, the fulfillment of the law, and ushering in the new covenant. In conclusion, the question of whether God killed Moses finds its roots in the complex interplay of divine justice, human obedience, and the symbolism embedded in biblical narratives. Moses' disobedience, particularly the act of striking the rock, led to a consequence that shaped the trajectory of his journey. His Moses serves as a poignant reminder of the importance of obedience and trust in God's guidance. Yet, it also unveils the mystery of divine justice and mercy, highlighting the depth of God's relationship with his chosen leaders. Moses, despite his transgressions, remains a revered figure in biblical history, his life and passing leaving an indelible mark on the narrative of God's people. As we reflect on Moses' journey, we are challenged to examine our own lives, recognizing the significance of obedience and trust in our relationship with the divine. The story of Moses, with its highs and lows, invites us to navigate the complexities of faith, acknowledging that even in moments of disobedience, God's mercy and grace can transcend our shortcomings.